I would like to rearrange the agenda a little bit, if that's all right with everyone. I'm gonna let Mike introduce, and move her up. That way she can get on out because of the weather and get back if she needs to.
Wow.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I was a little concerned driving in.
Well, as y'all know, I had told you all a couple months ago we were going to be discussing a little bit about the service line. It's basically insurance. And
Sorry about that.
I'll move. I can move to be in a more
no,
convenient location.
this lady right here. Now, this is not
You're good, I'll sit better here.
this is not Jenna. Jenna was supposed to.
Yes, I'm Jenna. Kara was
Oh,
supposed
Kara,
to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kara was supposed to come. This
Poor
is
Mike's been
Jenna.
dealing with both of us.
And so I've been dealing with both of them. So she's going to pass out a proposal and what all it will cover and stuff like that. So if y'all would, just give her your attention and it's yours.
Yeah, wonderful. I will let y'all kind of pass these around so that I'm not getting in everyone's business. Pass them down to make sure. Well, I appreciate you letting me come and speak with you today, and again, I appreciate you letting me move on forward. I'm actually not too far. I live down in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. But we have been working with some surrounding communities of y'all's for quite some time. You might be familiar with some of the name and some of the program already, just based on, I don't know if any of you are on Blue Ridge Water or McKaysville or Morganton, but we actually work with those communities as well. And I was kind of put in touch a while ago, I think with Miss Marnie when she was here, and we had talked about it, and it kind of never really went very far. I think y'all were kind of even newer than you had mentioned you are now, and so it had never really gone anywhere. And so when we got back in touch with Mike, we were excited to kind of say, hey, if this is something that you all would be interested in looking into as well, we'd love to work with you. So in your packets, you'll find an official proposal from ServLine, as well as just kind of a brochure about the program, kind of how our step-by-step process works, as well as a sample trifold that would be kind of what would go out to your customers, educating them about the program should you choose to move forward. But with this proposal, basically what you're going to see if you flip to page 2, what we're kind of establishing here is we know that customer water leaks can be quite a burdensome issue for water systems. It's difficult to solve because a customer water leak is not technically the fault of the authority, but they also don't often realize that it's their responsibility to take care of. And so they will call the water system and ask for assistance with that, or if there's anything that you all can do to help them. And some choose to, what they call, give a leak adjustment, and some choose to say, we're so sorry, that's your responsibility, you're going to have to pay for it, which that's completely the prerogative of each water system's choice on how they want to handle that issue. Tricky bit is if you give an adjustment, well, that's costing the water authority money. But if you don't, then the customers, your friends and neighbors, and sometimes your family, are put between a rock and a hard place because sometimes they don't have the money for it. So that leaves this predicament of not a very great solution for anyone. So what ServLine is designed to do is be a solution to that. We come in and we work with you to help your customers have a solution for that high water bill, as well as a solution to fix their outside water line if that was what caused the high water bill, should they choose to sign up for that. So if you want to flip with me to page 3, this is an insurance-backed program, as he mentioned is insurance. Fannin County Water Authority would be technically the named insured on the policy. We are working with you, the Water Authority, and it's your choice to stay with us or to cancel your policy at any time. your customers are beneficiaries or participants in that policy. So they're the ones that most of the time, the cost of the program is passed along to, either on their water bill or by written into the cost of the base water rate. And so what that means is we would work with you to create what we call a leak adjustment program or a leak protection policy. And so the rates that are in this proposal today are based on these specific, on page 3, these specific qualifiers. So kind of in the middle of the page right there, you'll see one occurrence in a 12-month period that can cover 2 consecutive billing cycles with a 2 times average qualifier. So that means your customers would be eligible for 1 leak claim in a 12-month period. It can cover 2 months, but in order to qualify, their bill would have to be at least twice their average in order to get a leak adjustment. We don't have to have that in there, but we recommend it because what we've seen is a lot of customers will call in for a $5 adjustment, and since they only get 1 a year, they're kind of running the risk of wasting that adjustment, and we see it happen a lot. Because for some people, $5 extra is an actual burden, but we want to make sure that we're doing right by the customer, and so by putting that 2 times qualifier in there, you're helping protect them sort of from themselves if they have a higher leak later on in the year, because we've seen some pretty doozies as well. And on the next page, on page 4, this would be, this is kind of a sample policy of what we would establish in conjunction with you. So it would state Fannin County Water Authority is changing our leak adjustment policy, essentially how you all handle customer water leaks. The biggest things to kind of be aware of on this page, so I want to point out, we do have commercial rates in this proposal. A lot of utilities choose not to move forward with commercial right away. It's up to you if you do or do not. If you did want to move forward with it, then that exemption would be removed from this policy. We've also spoken with Mike, who has seen a lot of leaky commodes in his day. We do as well. And so if you would like us to include leaky commodes in this program, we can remove that exclusion as well, and we can cover leaky commodes and dripping faucets if you would like us to.
And what she's talking about, I've had firsthand experience in this. My mother-in-law, bless her heart, she didn't know she had a leak. And Blue Ridge is basically, they got the same thing. And if it would, I mean, and she set up on auto, so she let it go for a while. The bad thing about it, she never checked her bill because it's auto pay. Well, the thing about it is, we did file a claim, I don't know if that's what you call it, but they're going to basically put back into, or give her credit of 2 months. Now, you know, it went on longer than that, but I would say most people probably, I would think, I hope, they look at their bills and they want to make sure how much water they use and stuff like that. I could see where this could come in handy, but, you know, understanding this option is different, and Jenna will go over it with you, but this option is different than from the meter to the house, okay? So that is just something that I wanted everybody to understand. Everybody has insurance. You hope you never have to use it. This is no different. I would think this is no different. So go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. First-hand stories are always helpful because we have seen it benefit a lot of folks who might not notice their water bill every single month, might not really realize or hear that their toilet is running constantly, and they don't know, so then it goes on, and before you know it, it's racking up a super high water bill. So I appreciate that, but as he mentioned, there is 2, and he just kind of led me right into it. There are 2 different parts to this program. The first part is what ServLine primarily deals with. That is the high water bill that a leak has caused it to skyrocket. That is ServLine's bread and butter. The program actually started out as something a little different. The secondary part to the program, which is the service line piece. You might be somewhat familiar with some other warranty type programs that are out there in the market. Most of them are not insurance, however, ServLine is a legal insurance-backed program or run through the State Department, all that jazz. So with that in mind, this leak protection piece deals with the customer's high water bill. It can be inside the home leaks, outside the home leaks. It doesn't matter to us as long as it qualifies under the policy that you all set in place with us, then we are gonna pay for that high water bill. And what that would look like is the customer would call to file a claim with the insurance company. We would get in touch with someone in your office and request that customer's previous 12-month usage history. Our claims adjuster would do the work of figuring out what their 12-month average bill is, and then we would write a reimbursement check back to the authority, not the customer, for the high water bill piece, because you are our primary customer with this. So that check is coming back to you to make sure that you are getting your money on that, which then you would apply to the customer's account in the form of a payment, if that makes sense. So this first piece, this water leak protection piece, and Mike mentioned you all do not have sewer. So on page 6, you can completely disregard the sewer portion. He said you might be dealing with it in the future, potentially. So that is there, and the chances that that does come into play eventually. But for the water leak protection, you would have 3 different options of limits that you could set for your customers. So the max is $2,500, and that would be the most amount of money, the max amount of money that ServLine would pay out for a leak. That corresponds with, right below there, option 1, 2, and 3. So for a $500 leak adjustment limit, you would have $1.75. For option 2, $2, you'd have $1,000. For option 3, $235, they'd have $2,500 worth of protection. That is for residential only. There, as I mentioned, there is commercial that we can dive into if that's something you all would like to do. We differentiate between single occupancy commercial and multi-occupancy commercial. It's basically if you have, a strip mall or a big commercial building with multiple businesses in it, doesn't matter how many, that would fall under multiple occupancy, and they would just be charged double. Rather than a single business, you just have the one charge there of whichever rate option you picked.
This says per occurrence, that's per occurrence in 12 months.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not a build up to $500. It's per, because you only get one in a 12-month period. So that is the per occurrence, and that means one per 12 months.
Is the 12-month a 12-month calendar, or so from January to December? So if I come in December, I only get, is it prorated or is it?
Good question. It's a rolling calendar year.
Okay.
So
it could
November
be different for everybody.
Could be different for everyone. Mm-hmm. And our claims adjusters keep track of that.
So you could possibly have one in December and January.
Well,
But
it
that would be
depends.
outside
That would, so, because it was always gonna end this month.
If you
So
started
it's
paying,
rolling, so it would be
like
So if you
If
have
you
one,
have
you gotta
one,
wait,
12
until the
months.
following
Oh,
next year,
yeah.
12 months
you
from
gotta
now.
wait a
Wait
whole
12
12
months.
months,
Right.
okay.
Okay, so if I have a claim in March,
Mhm.
I have no coverage until the next.
The following
April,
March.
March,
Mhm.
the next
Yeah.
March.
For this piece, yes, for the
Okay,
lead adjustments.
actually April.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
would think, April.
And sometimes that poses the question, well, why wouldn't people just opt out after they had a leak? We just don't really see that that happens much. I don't know if it's because we have become kind of a society of convenience or what it is, but it's when folks look at the cost of, if you go with option 2, about $24 a year, it's easier for them to just pay that $2 a year or a month than to have to remember to call back in the 30 days prior to when their last claim was. Because if you opt out, you can opt back in, but there's a 30-day wait period. And so if you've had a leak and you're approaching your month again where you could be eligible for it, you have to remember, okay, 30 days in advance, and that can get kind of confusing. So while people absolutely can opt out, it is completely their choice. We just don't see it happen very much, but you all are more than welcome to. Any questions? So I will actually mention implementation. I mentioned the 2 routes. You can write this into the cost of your base water rate, which if you do that, it acts a little bit more like a rate increase. Customers would not see it as a line item on their bill, but you would see a 10% reduction in these rates listed here. Typically with that route, we see fewer calls, less customer service work. That is required on our end, and so with that we're able to offer a 10% discount in the rates as kind of just being fair, because we know what the workload's like. But if you do not choose to write it into your base rate, it would show up as a line item on your customers' bills if they do not choose to decline to participate. So this is, I want to be real clear with that too, this is an opt-out program for the leak protection piece, the high water bill. This is an opt-in. Now there's a caveat to that. We do work with you to send out educational material to them in advance of the program starting. And that's what I mentioned, one of the trifolds in there is kind of a sample of what would go out in your customers' bills to let them know ahead of time what the program is, how much it's going to cost, the customer service number to call if they don't want it, and that customer service number comes to our customer service. We have our own group that's set up, that's trained and qualified to deal with leak adjustment policies and customer water leaks specifically. That is all they do day in and day out. So they would be helping to assist with the rollout of this program, and as many as possible of your customers, if they'll call us, we'll answer as many of those questions as we possibly can. We understand that you are their water authority, and so they're still going to call you. But our customer service is set up to be an assistance to you as much as we possibly can, and we just advise you all to direct them to that number as much as you can to alleviate any workload on the front end that you might intake because of the start of this.
Do you have a minimum number of customers that you require in order to have this?
We do not, no.
So if we have 1 customer,
Well, if you hadn't, I think you said you have around 400 customers. If you had 399 customers call and opt out, that would be the shock of my lifetime. On average, we work with about 140 systems across the United States. We're nationwide at this point, and anywhere from 100 customers up to 40,000 customers. And our national average participation rate is 96% when you first get going. That's the minimum. So most of the time we see 97, 98% of customers remain in the program. However, the longer a utility remains in, that participation actually increases. Ocoee utility, just across the state line, they're our longest running utility, been on it 5 years, and they started out, the first ever, started out with 96%. They are now in excess of 99% participation from their customer base. And they started with a $500 limit, and they're wanting to increase that because their customers have said, hey, we love this program, but we want more money out of what we're paying for. Can you increase the limit? So they're looking at doing that this year as well. But to answer your question, if you have 399 opt out, we will service that 1 customer faithfully.
okay.
Any other questions on the leak protection piece, the high water bill?
All right, when you send this out, can it can be adapted so it doesn't mention the word sewer?
It can. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
this is purely a sample, and that
I
would.
just don't want to confuse people
Oh,
about
absolutely.
something that we don't have.
Mhm. No, that would be the sewer leak and the sewer line would both be removed, 100%. That's just our sample. We work with ones that have water and sewer, so.
Seems like I got one of these from Copper Basin Utility. Do y'all do them?
Cover Basin, yeah, we work with them as well.
Yeah.
I love those ladies.
Yeah.
I know their office staff. I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what they were doing because they're fairly new on it.
Let's see, they're not, but they did recently add commercial, they've been on for a couple of years though.
Okay, yeah, I guess they were sending this out, so you send this out first to people to get them familiar with it?
Mhm, yes, and we typically do that, our standard is 30 days prior to the program starting. So if you started January 1st, we'd send it out in their bills, whatever their billing cycle was, the beginning of December. So they'd have 30 days to look at the information, call, ask questions, decide whether or not they want it before the following month where they would actually see it on their bill if they didn't opt out.
So if they don't opt out, you just automatically put it on there?
Mhm,
And then
yeah.
if they call, then you can take it off?
Then we can take it off, yes. And we work with your office staff to deal with your office staff to make sure they're comfortable with the billing and how that all works. You know, and we'll keep it broad. Maybe you'll get some help. Well, I've heard he's great, by the way. I was just visiting around the area.
Oh, God.
So yes, that you would just remove that from their bill. Would you like to come back to
Is it 100% pass-through cost? So if they're collecting $2 and there's 300 customers, they would write y'all the check for 600, and the advantage for them would be they would get reimbursed in full on any leaks.
Yes, but with that question, I will point out, I mentioned this to Mike, you do have the option. These rates are, we like to say, kind of what we start with for the first couple of years. We can absolutely take a look at these and reevaluate what they look like. We guarantee we will not raise a rate within 2 years, and even then, we would like to actually never raise a rate if possible. That's our goal. So rather than raising a rate, we would tweak your policy to see if that can help reduce. However, we have given rate reductions in the past based on data that we've collected over the course of the 2 years. So we can take another look at this and see in a couple of years if we can reduce them. But you all do have the option of taking the cost of the program and adding a 5, 10, 15 cent administrative fee if you would like to it. There is a small amount of administrative work that would be required. Setting it up initially, you know, some of the customers are going to call you, the monthly invoices. You know, this isn't a complete on us program because your customers are still going to deal with you, and we understand that. So if you would like to add something to it, that is your choice. A lot of utilities do, but a lot don't as well. It's just kind of up to you all if you would like to do that or not.
So what this reimburses for is what they owe us, not what it costs to get the leak fixed.
Correct. But that does give me a great segue into the next section. So skip on page 7 because y'all don't deal with sewer. The second part of the program deals with the customers outside service lines. So, well, you don't deal with sewer, so you wouldn't deal with their laterals, but their water lines, if they have an issue outside the home from the meter up to the foundation, we don't go under the foundation or inside. If they have an issue with that and have signed up for the line protection, they can be reimbursed directly for the cost to pay the plumber, the cost of the parts that were necessary to fix the leak, anything involving the fixing or repairing of that water line. And that is a proactive sign up for addition to the leak protection piece. So for that, it would be $5.75 for the customer if they signed up for it. But it is a $10,000 claim reimbursement, leak protection payout max, and it's unlimited. So rather than them getting one a year, if they have a pipe freeze and break in December, they thought they fixed it, they called in, got a leak claim or got their claim filed and were reimbursed, and then in March, winter was long, so they had another issue, they could call, get both claims basically paid for and be reimbursed up to $10,000 for both.
I can see where out-of-town homeowners might be interested
Well, that's what I was saying, that there's two options on this. The one that you just covered, the leak protection, and this one is totally different. It's totally different, and I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that, you know, from the meter to the house, there is a line protection. And I remember making the notes, I mean, they can, you know, unfortunately, if somebody has 3 or 4 breaks during that year, they would be covered. But that is totally separate from the leak protection in the house.
Correct. You can have one, not the other, you can have both.
Yeah.
But you opt out of the leak protection, you opt in to the full repair. to the line
Correct.
protection.
The leak protection is if you get $1,000 water bill, who can cover it, but it's still, they still got an issue.
With the,
I mean, they still got their responsibility
Yeah.
for fixing whatever
Yes.
caused that
Whatever's
$1,000
inside,
bill.
Yes.
whatever's
Yeah.
inside.
That's why we like to say that this is an all-encompassing issue, except for the fact that we don't go inside. Because a lot of the high water bills that are caused, your customers are dealing with the high water bill, but if it's that high, oftentimes it is a pipe issue. It's burst or it's been
That's what we've seen
leaking. And
outside.
so the customer then has the burden of paying for the high water bill plus paying for the plumber to come out and fix it, which I don't know many people that just have money set aside for even to quote a plumber to come out and fix it can be pretty expensive. So for them to have the assurance, hey, they're gonna get their leak paid for, plus if they've signed up for this, they're gonna get their line repaired or replaced depending on the level of damage that's there. I mean, that can be pretty good assurance for them. Especially we've seen folks who might not be sure of how old their home is, really, they don't know what's in the ground, they don't know what kind of piping was used, but there are new contractors out there who, they're just not doing a very good job either. So new pipes are leaking and bursting, and we're still having that issue. So it can be an enhanced benefit for your customers if they would like to take advantage of it. And then we won't deal with sewer laterals because you all do not deal with that. But as I mentioned, page 11 just reflects the states that we're working in currently, who we're kind of working with. Page 12 gives some basic definitions. Some apply to you, some do not, and a lot of it we've gone over already. I will say the line protection is still billed through you all, so it still would go on the customer's bill, but it's serviced by us still. So same as the leak piece, they call us, file a claim, we reimburse them. They would call, sign up for it, it would still be on their water bill, because this is your program.
So if they have if they have signed up for the enhanced protection and it costs them $5,000 to redo everything, that $5,000 would still come to the authority, and then the authority would write the customer.
Good distinction.
Because that could cover your water bill for the next 10 years of your life.
Right, no, the line protection, that check would go back to the customer directly.
Because I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what our auditors would do with that.
Oh my God.
They might have a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like, not quite.
No, gosh, no.
No, that might cause
Okay.
a little bit more stress and work than we want this program to be for y'all. So no, the leak protection reimbursement check comes to you. The line protection, that goes back to the customer. We just don't bill directly. We don't go outside of working with utilities. We do not market directly to customers. We're not even set up or designed to do it that way. We work specifically with water systems, and we have a few different reasons why we do that. Some of the companies who are out there who do lateral protections or service line protections, they have spotty ratings. Some customers like them, some customers don't. But we wanted to differentiate ourselves between us and them. And since this is insurance and we are protecting your revenue when it comes to the leak adjustment piece, that is what it's doing. It's making sure that the utility is made whole by you all getting that. And just having this additional protection for your customers allows them to receive even more benefit from the policy. That is pretty pretty much the basics. I mean, we can get so far down in the weeds with some of the
I
stuff
got a
if you'd
question
like.
for you. You
Sure.
said this quote is good for 30 days. We only meet once a month.
Yes, so that is on there because in insurance, you have to have certain parameters in place. However, this quote will be good for as long as you want it to be good. And we can change dates on there if you would like.
Thank you, we do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'd like to give each board member time to really read over it and everything, and we'll discuss it, and Mike will get back with you. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me come. And my business card is in there, direct email and cell phone. If anything comes up or you all have any questions, feel free to give me a ring. Even this afternoon, I'll just be driving home, so.
You won't have service going down the river.
That is actually true. Coming up the Ocoyos, can't really see. But any other time, I'd be happy to answer any other questions that might come up.
Any more questions for her? Anybody? Got anything?
The only one that I had was just that the leak protection is gonna be, one, it's gonna be, if you all accept it, it's gonna be automatic, and then our customer, our neighbors, if they want, must opt out.
Yes. Yes.
Then the line maintenance aspect of that is basically a separate issue.
Yes.
And I will say, you all do have the benefit, I mentioned this to Mike, a lot of communities we go into, we're coming in almost completely blind because a lot of the surrounding areas, they don't have anything in place. You all have the benefit of almost all of your surrounding communities are working with this program already. So a lot of your customers may have heard about it even, so it won't be quite as, well, what in the world? Some of them might, which is why we want to make sure that we give them 30 days prior to that happening so they can call and ask questions.
And all the billing then would come back through the water authority.
We do a staff training to make sure you're
Might
good to
pick
go
up
in
another
front
job.
And then occasionally I bring you donuts, like I did with Blue Ridge today. So,
Trying to keep it down.
I'll bring you some
I
fruit.
was gonna say.
Okay.
I'll bring out some fruit. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure, sure.
And you be safe going home.
Thank you. I appreciate that.